What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more T.S.O.L. for the first time in quite a while. We're talking True Sounds of Liberty. I think I explained this in a handful of T.S.O.L. reactions I did now like a couple years ago, but just as a quick refresher, this band, True Sounds of Liberty, started in the early 80s, and they were a political hardcore punk rock band. And over the next few years, the founding members, one by one, left the group, to the point where I think by the mid or late 80s, it was comprised of entirely new members, people who had not been there since the founding of the band, and at that point they moved more toward a hard rock, heavy metal, almost hair band type of aesthetic and sound. And at that point, I think they actually became a little more internationally famous. So for a lot of people, if you mention this band, I think that's the phase that they think of. But again, they were originally a hardcore punk rock band. And post-2000, the lead singer, Jack Grisham, I think is his name, reacquired the rights to the name of the group, because I think even the second or later formation of the band eventually petered out. And at that point, 3 of the original 4 members, the lead singer, the guitarist, and the bassist, came back. I think they had a different drummer, but they became a punk rock band again. And so I know some of their early stuff, but a few years ago I discovered they released an album in 2017 called The Trigger Point. And by then I was starting to do reactions, so I had it like in mind, you know what, I'm going to not only buy that, but I'm going to wait to listen to it until I go through it with people on my channel who've, come to follow my punk rock reactions and so on. And indeed, shout out to Michaela, she commented on a couple of my older T.S.O.L. reactions, which reminded me that I've had this album sitting on the shelf for a while and I want to go through it. So this is mostly the original lineup of T.S.O.L., but from an album now 8 years ago, but obviously much more recent than the material that I've heard from them before. And it'll be my first time listening to it along with you. So the first track on the Trigger Point is Give Me More, which is a straightforward expression. You're seeking additional input of whatever you're going through, whatever experience, whatever process, whatever event that you're involved in, you want more of it. So yes, it's a straightaway sentiment. It sounds enthusiastic. Now, of course, that could be sarcastic, the idea of something being very bad. Oh, sure, give me more. I'd love more of this nightmare that we're going through. But on the surface of it, I would be more inclined to think that it'll be genuine or literal in terms of the meaning. In any case, let's listen. Luca, you are still dangerously behind my chair here. This is T.S.O.L. True Sounds of Liberty from their 2017 album, The Trigger Complex, and it's called Give Me More. honestly, that's amazing how much it sounds like the early 80s T.S.O.L. I already know. So, yeah, they clearly were going for that old school style, that old school, raw kind of hardcore punk rock. So I love that. It does have a bit of a throwback rock and roll feel, just a little bit, especially in the guitar. But yeah, as I said, it's impressive how much they recaptured their original sound in more recent years. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear all the lines clearly, and part of it is, the sonics of the guitar and the bass and the drums were almost a bit stronger than the vocals. But what I did catch, it sounds a bit masochistic. It sounds perhaps a bit like self-denigrating, the idea that, I'll be your slave. I think I even heard like slit my wrist, like I'll just, give me more, give me more. But it sounds like it is maybe carnal. It's, something about kissing of lips and, wanting to feel, and there were other like phrases that I'm now blanking on. But it sounds like maybe it is sexual in nature, or at least like physical, and maybe again like a masochistic punishment type of thing. So yes, it sounds like Give Me More, while not being ironic, is not as happy and, oh, this is so great and we both feel good about this. It sounds like he maybe wants to be punished, or he wants to suffer as long as he gets more from this other person. So generally speaking, when I do reactions to a song I've never heard before, I let the song wash over me and hear successive times. So I think I'll do the same for this album, but ultimately, as I've explained in other deep dives going back to the very earliest reactions I did, after a handful of listens, if there's still some lines that I can't hear clearly, I'll go look online or in the booklet, though in this case the booklet is already up on the wall, so I'll have to look online. But yeah, ultimately, as I said, it sounds like it is genuine in terms of him wanting more from another person. It sounds like that's maybe in a carnal, physical, sexual conception, but also that there's maybe some masochism or willingness to denigrate oneself or to bow yourself in submission, even if it means a little pain from the other person. So that's what I took away from it. Do let me know what you think of the song. I will see you next time. Peace.